Hi, this is my first set of interviews where I find famous people online and I ask them random questions. Today I have Max Krieger, and he made a really cool game called freaking Crossing Crap.
It's okay. It's CROSSNIQ. I've also heard CROSSNIQ, hot cross buns,
Hot Cross Buns Plus.
Kringle, cranberries, various.
So how did the big picture, the whole look and feel of CrossNIQ come together?
Okay, do you want me to start from where I left off?
Um, I think you have to start from the beginning because because Discord decided to destroy the entire first half of that.
Oh no, that's totally okay. I can repeat that.
Hmm.
So CrossSneak's look and feel and its mechanics were kind of two separate creative influences I had going on that kind of combined together into one game idea. So mechanics for CrossSneak came to me while I was working on my previous project called Train. Now, Train is everything that CrossSneak is not. Train was big, it was narrative heavy, it was really art asset heavy, it had a lot of kind of experimental mechanics in them, non standard mechanics. It shifted genres a lot. It was dialogue heavy. I had to end up writing about 90 pages of screenplay for Train, which is roughly equivalent to a feature film. And so even by the middle of the project, I was really starting to get burned out, and pushing through Train was super hard. I was still a student when work on Train started, and it continued for reasons which I'm going to detail in that post mortem about Train that I'm going to finish one day. Um, for reasons, I had to continue it when I was out of college. But when I first started, I was really using puzzle games to kind of de-stress, to decompress, and to take my mind off my work. And one of them that I got really into was Tetris the Grandmaster, which kind of has a reputation now thanks to awesome games done quick, really reviving interest in the game. And I loved TGM. I was really in love with it. I felt like it was the best thing that ever happened to Tetris. And so I was playing TGM feverishly, like every day while I was working on Train. At some point, my mind was like, Max, look, we need to talk. Here you go. Here's a nice, simple mechanic for you. And it was the kind of the vision of the cross creation mechanic, because it was like, what if we took Tetris except we added a column element to it instead of just a row? And my brain was like, here you go. Here's this nice, clean mechanic. Now, after Train, I want you to use this, and I want you to be kind to yourself, and I want you to not overscope this next project because you overscoped this one and it's killing you. So the mechanics of CrossSneak did kind of, come to me in a proverbial dream. It's rare that they come to me all at once like that, but they did. What didn't come to me all at once was the look, the aesthetic. And at the time, I first envisioned the mechanics of CrossSneak, which I would say is probably about 2014. I first started teasing them around. I worked on Train for like 2.5 years, so I didn't really have the chance to put them into action. But around that time, I was really into vaporwave. That was still the hot thing. I loved the exploration and reclamation of all of those old kind of low art elements from commercial graphic and industrial design that got adapted into vaporwave, and I really loved how it was repurposed. But around that time, and especially into 2016 and 2017, vaporwave's bite kind of got co-opted into the whole general maelstrom of 80s nostalgia that was going on at the time. And I feel like vaporwave's core kind of got lost in the shuffle. And so I started to lose interest in vaporwave as time went on. And it was in about November of 2016 when I first stumbled upon the Y2K Aesthetic Institute Tumblr. A friend of mine linked it to me after I had shared some Y2K looking pictures in the past. I didn't really have a word for the aesthetic yet. But I was like, when are we going to go on to this late 90s stuff? And they just sent me the link. And I fell in love instantly because it was what I grew up with. I didn't have a word for it, but then I did. I was given one.
Mm-hmm.
And that rekindled my interest in the look and the aesthetic and the music and the philosophy of this whole era of design. And I just went deeper and deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole until, what do you know, the Y2K Aesthetic Institute group on Facebook like made me a moderator, and I chat with like the group admins all the time.
Oh,
And
that's
so
cool.
yeah, I know that, and they're such good people, and they're so absurdly talented people. I feel like such an amateur whenever I talk to them about design. It's kind of, but so Y2K was kind of floating around, and then I realized that TGM and a lot of the puzzle games that I were playing were very Y2K in their presentation. TGM especially, but also stuff like Choo Choo Rocket was very Y2K looking, and Bamani games, which are a favorite of mine, even though I'm really trash at them, were also had that Y2K aesthetic, and they were kind of a big influence as to the kind of music that I really enjoyed from video games. That Japanese VGM sound that I associated a lot with games like TGM, and so it kind of became a happy marriage of mechanic and aesthetic, and that's when I really got the concrete idea to go for CrossSniQ as a whole package.
That's super cool. Like, I think it's always neat when you find like a group of like-minded people, and that kind of pushes you forward to work on like an idea.
Absolutely.
So like, you have the one line in the Kickstarter, what's called "The Future Is Here."
The future is still here. That's
So,
right.
yeah, like that just made me feel like super like motivated when I saw that, because like I also kind of grew up with that same like aesthetic. Like sadly I was not like a Dreamcast kid. I had the Genesis, but I didn't have the Dreamcast, and I had like the PS1, but I never grew up with like that. But I had like a glimpse of what that was like, and also I saw your thread on Epcot, and that reminded me of that's also what like kind of motivated me when I was a kid. So like it's super cool seeing like the origins of how people like get into stuff, and like how it advances them in like the later times. Like I just thought that was super cool when I saw that Kickstarter.
Thank you. I'm really glad you think so. But the thing that's commonly shared, I think, between all those threads, between Epcot, between Y2K, is the idea of a commonly culturally shared future, a vision of the future. And that's a thing that we've kind of lost. And I think we've lost it because of partially a sense of betrayal. I think that all of these new revolutionary internet and information technologies that we were promised weren't as democratizing as they were envisioned to be. They didn't solve our problems overnight and propel us into this new age as we were promised. But the reason why I'm really behind bringing Y2K back into the spotlight is because just because those things didn't happen doesn't mean that the hope and inspiration that the vision of them existing gave us is somehow falsified or debunked. The inspiration and the creative influences and the philosophical influences that they imparted on a whole generation of young internet savvy creators who are now young adults is very real, and I feel like that can still result in real change, and we need a rallying point for all of that discontented energy, which I see among tons of creative people that I work with. And I figured that Y2K would be a great place to start the conversation back off again.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me of how like people still like there's so much like I feel like Y2K and like that whole like hope, and also the whole like really hopeful vision of the future thing is kind of coming back, because you got like I don't know if this like kind of counts, but like Res Infinite and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is super like Y2K is in like just the sound of it, the look of it. I feel like the next coming years is gonna probably be like super good in terms of stuff like that. Like I feel like we'll like kind of obtain the pure essence of it as like we look more into it and kind of have a better understanding of like what really captures Y2K. Like, shoot, they're making VR Space Channel 5.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Did you see that? It looks super cool.
Lala is like the Y2K queen. Funny story. I don't know if you saw when I posted about this, or if you knew already. But for those who don't know, look up the voice actress the original voice actress for Ooh La La, for anybody listening. Her name is Apollo Smile, and
That is
she
a
was
Y2K name.
not only is it a Y2K name, but she was like I think a dancer who like she was like a classically trained dancer. She was like dancing professionally, and she got really into the convention scene in the '90s, and she made her like whole billing Apollo Smile, the real life anime girl, and she had such a goddamn look. It was so good.
I read
And
about that like
Sega,
a few weeks ago. That was so interesting.
so good. And Sega cast her to be the voice of Ooh La La, and that gets overlooked so often. So God, she's an icon.
Did you ever see that thing? I think like MTV had like a pitch of like actually having a Space Channel, like an actual Space Channel 5 or something. Was it MTV?
I'm not sure. I've heard of a couple concepts like it, shows hosted by virtual hosts that look kind of like Ooh La La.
Mm.
I know who to ask, but yeah, if you can find that, totally send it my way.
Yeah, I read about that. I think last year it was just like a either virtual idol kind of based stuff. I feel like that's kind of making a resurgence too with the whole like virtual YouTubers thing with the VR stuff.
Yeah, and look at God, what's it called? That trivia game that's really popular right now.
I know what you're thinking of, and I do not remember the name of it. All I know is that you
Um,
can get money from it,
I'm
and I have
Google.
like a few friends that play it.
HQ Trivia.
Ah,
That's right. Yeah, HQ Trivia. That's got like a live host component, so that's totally taken from that era. It's finally being revisited.
dude, the possibilities are endless.
Mhm.
Mm. So the question we're all dying to know: how do you aim for the top?
Well, how do I aim for the top? The way I've been aiming for the top, personally, has been to just realize that finally I'm working on a project that I feel technically comfortable with. Like I feel like there's no huge technical obstacles that I'll find insurmountable, which is a real bottleneck for me sometimes when I conceive of things. So oftentimes things that are a little more technically ambitious don't leave the concept stage, but not so with CrossSneak. CrossSneak is running like a finely tuned engine right now. Honestly, I haven't tried it yet. I could probably port it to iPad as is, disable one or two effects, and have it run at 60 FPS. It's very well this game. And not only that, but for the first time in a long time, I'm having a lot of fun working on a game, even as it goes into like a commercial state. I feel confident. I feel like I'm having a good time, and I feel like that's bringing other people who are interested in Y2K and interested in a game like this, kind of onto the train, onto the bandwagon. And everybody who has worked with CrossSneak has had a lot of fun, and I'm just so grateful to bring for a lot of creative people who haven't really gotten a chance to find a voice or haven't really had an opportunity to make their vision heard can have fun and put it out there in something uniform. So I'm aiming for the top by taking that and riding it as far as I can go with it.
Where did you get those goggles?
Those goggles were actually really cheap. I got them off of Amazon. Last I checked, they were sold out of the color I have. It's like AOME, Aome or something. I don't know where it came from. But they were like $8. Between weird Amazon listings and the real good shit, as far as garments go, is Ali. You gotta get the stuff from AliExpress, and you gotta know how to search on AliExpress. Thank God, I know people who know how to search on AliExpress, but you can find such good looks for so cheap. But yeah, I got those like glasses on Amazon for like $8. It was great. If I ever find the link again, I will send it to you.
Oh my god, the future really is here now.
It is.
Thank you for CrossSnake.
Oh, and thank you for your support. I really, really appreciate it. And you've been in my corner for a long time, so thank you.
That's interviews. We did it.
Sweet.